Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going inside a high-security vault. But you know what? It doesn't hold gold or diamonds. It protects something way more critical. We're talking about the genetic blueprint for the future of our food.
So let's just start with one of the most fundamental questions of our time. It's a huge puzzle, right? And it's one that scientists, farmers, and governments are all racing to solve before the clock runs out. And when you look at the numbers, the challenge is just staggering. By 2050, we're going to need to produce 100% more food, double our current output. But, and this is the real kicker, we have to do it with 20% less land and 20% less water. So, how on earth do we close that gap?
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the pressure our planet's under. Then, we'll dive into India's genetic vault, see how this library of life works, figure out how scientists are decoding its blueprints, and finally, what this all means for the seeds of our future.
Okay, so Section 1, a planet under pressure. It's not just about producing more with less, right? The system we already have is, well, pretty fragile. Our most essential crops, they're facing more and more stress from climate change, new pests, and all sorts of diseases.
So, if our current crops are so vulnerable, where do we find stronger ones? Well, the answer lies in preserving the very source code of our food. And that brings us to India's genetic vault. You can think of it as a national effort, a kind of biological fortress that's protecting the country's entire agricultural biodiversity.
Okay, so at the heart of all this are what scientists call plant genetic resources. I know, it's a bit of a mouthful, but the concept is actually pretty cool. Think of it as a massive biological library. Every single seed is like a book, and written in its DNA is a unique story. A potential blueprint for, say, drought tolerance or disease resistance that we might desperately need down the road. And you know, every great library needs a head librarian. In this case, that's India's National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources, or NBPGR for short. These are the folks who are the guardians of both the nation's agricultural past and its future.
So, just how big is this library we're talking about? Well, get ready for this number. Over 450,000. That's how many unique plant samples, or accessions as they're called, are being conserved. Every single one is a distinct genetic key, a potential solution to a crisis we haven't even faced yet.
And what's really fascinating is what's in this collection. It's not just modern high-yield crops. Look at this. A huge chunk are what we call land races. These are ancient varieties that farmers have cultivated for generations. Together with the wild species, they form this incredible treasure trove of tough, resilient genes that a lot of our modern plants have actually lost.
All right, Section 3, a library of life. So how in the world do you protect a living library with almost 500,000 entries? I mean, this isn't just some dusty warehouse for seeds. We're talking about a network of super high-tech facilities designed to ensure these things survive for centuries. The whole strategy is multi-layered, which is really smart. You've got your medium-term storage at about 4 degrees Celsius for samples that researchers are actively using. Then you have the long-term storage, where they freeze the main collections at -20. But for the ultimate just-in-case security, that's the Genebank. Here, seeds and tissues are plunged into liquid nitrogen at an absolutely mind-boggling -196 degrees Celsius. It's basically like hitting the pause button on life for hundreds of years.
But, a library is totally useless if no one actually reads the books. So just storing all these seeds isn't enough. The next absolutely critical step is to start decoding the priceless information that's locked inside those genetic blueprints.
And this is where the real detective work begins. Scientists have to painstakingly study each and every one of these samples. They document dozens of traits, everything from the shape of a leaf to its nutritional content. And, most importantly, they're looking for those hidden superpowers, like the ability to fight off a new pest or survive a crazy heat wave.
And just to give you a sense of the scale here, it is absolutely monumental. Just take a look at rice. There are over 106,000 types in the bank, and they've already fully studied 42,000 of them. For wheat, it's more than 24,000. This isn't random. It's a systematic, incredibly detailed search for those hidden genetic treasures.
And this hard work really pays off. It yields incredible results. Here's a great success story. In one project, scientists screened more than 21,000 different wheat varieties. How? By basically throwing major diseases at them to see what would happen. And out of that huge pool, they found 659, a small group of champions that were naturally resistant to multiple types of rust, which is a really devastating threat to wheat harvests all over the world.
Okay, so our final section, seeds for our future. Because look, finding a resistant wheat variety in a lab is amazing, but that's just step one. The ultimate goal, the whole point, is to get these powerful genetics out of the vault and into the field. It's all about creating real-world solutions that actually help farmers and make our food supply more secure.
Let's look at a perfect example of this in action, the chickpea. It's a super important crop, but harvesting it has always been a huge bottleneck. The problem is the plant structure. It kind of sprawls out, which makes it really difficult for farmers to use machines to harvest it. That means higher labor costs and, ultimately, less production.
So, scientists went back to the Genebank. They were on a mission. They grew and analyzed thousands and thousands of different chickpea varieties, almost 19,000 of them in total, all in the hope of finding one plant with one very specific, game-changing trait.
And guess what? They found it. Buried in that massive collection was a single variety with a unique upright structure. It was the one in almost 19,000 that was absolutely perfect for mechanical harvesting. I mean, what a discovery. This could save farmers an incredible amount of time and labor.
Now, to make sure a breakthrough like this isn't just lost or forgotten, India has a formal system called genetic registration. You could almost think of it like getting a patent, but for a natural trait. It officially documents the plant's unique value and makes that genetic blueprint available for breeders everywhere to use.
And that upright chickpea, that's just the tip of the iceberg. So far, more than 1,200 other unique traits have been identified and officially registered, and that's across more than 200 different plant species. Every single one of those is a proven tool ready and waiting to be used to build a stronger agricultural future.
So, let's wrap this up. What's the big takeaway here? It's that the solutions to our future food challenges, they might just be hidden in our past. By preserving this unbelievable genetic diversity, we're talking nearly 500,000 plant blueprints in India's Genebank, and by actively decoding them, scientists are already finding real-world answers to some of farming's biggest problems.
You know, the work happening in this vault is really about more than just food. And it leaves us with a final, pretty powerful question to think about. If a single seed can hold the key to a more sustainable harvest, what other incredible secrets, for medicine, for new materials, for adapting to our changing climate, what else is lying dormant inside, just waiting to be discovered?